The 2019-2020 offseason has been one for the ages. There's been so many teams that have made progress this offseason. Teams like the White Sox, the Yankees, the Angels. We're going to talk about all of those teams in today's video. And then if you want to see a part two, let's get this video to 500 likes. We'll talk about the teams that regressed and got worse this offseason. AKA this team right here, my favorite team, the Indians. But apparently I talk about the Indians too much, so today we're not going to do that. I'm in my brand new setup, so again, I'm sorry if there's a little bit of an echo. I don't have anything on my walls right now because, to be honest, the gas just turned on. It was 40 degrees in my house, so I wasn't living here. But that's all besides the point. We're here. We're ready to take on 2020. And the first banger that we have before the calendar actually turns is the best offseason moves from each team that really deserves it. So that's what we're going to do right now. And also, if I have the hat from the team, I'm going to go ahead and wear that. So the first team that we have to talk about today is the Texas Rangers. In my opinion, the biggest things that they've done so far in this offseason is, number one, trading the sixth worst hitter in Delino DeShields and a relief pitcher. I think his name is Emmanuel Clase. I think that's how you say his last name. It could be Clase. It could be Clase. You guys can correct me in the comment section down below. But they traded Delino DeShields and that relief pitcher for an ace, a two-time Cy Young Award winner in Corey Kluber. And the impact is simple. If Corey Kluber is going to be Kluber in 2020, when you put him in the same rotation as Mike Minor, who broke out, Lance Lynn continued to be Lance Lynn. He was also snubbed of the best pitchers from the last decade. I think that he's definitely in that mix to be one of the best pitchers of the last 10 years. He throws 200 innings. He's an absolute workhorse. He's one of my favorite players in baseball. I called it that he was going to make a comeback. And then they also signed guys like Jordan Lyles and Kyle Gibson. So if the offense can stay healthy, if Joey Gallo can play a full 150 games, and if Nick Solak, their top prospect, the guy that they traded for and was raking towards the end of the season, if he does his thing and then Kluber is Kluber, the Rangers, they might have had the best offseason just on that alone, getting Corey Kluber for practically nothing. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a hat for the next team that we are going to be talking about. This is the Atlanta Braves. If I quickly recap what they've done this offseason, they filled every single hole that they needed to. I made a couple of videos talking about what every team needs going forward, and the Braves needed a catcher and bullpen arms. What did they do? They went out and signed Travis d'Arnaud, who is one of the best hitting catchers in all of baseball. He was with the Mets, then he went to the Rays, had a really good 2019. Now he got paid a lot of money. And then they also signed Will Smith from the San Francisco Giants. He was dominant last year. He's been dominant for quite some time. And then they also re-signed guys like Chris Martin, and who was the other guy that they re-signed? Darren O'Day. So if you've played MLB The Show, you know that Darren O'Day has a really funky windup. He's going to get guys out simply because he's a little bit hard to read. But I think they had a great offseason as well. I'm not going in order, by the way. So we have the Rangers and the Braves as two teams that improved a lot this offseason. And if I forget any players or if I forget any teams, please let me know in the comment section down below. So I'd give the Rangers probably a B+, A-, and then the Braves probably the same thing, a B+, A-. I'm going to go back to the Indians hat for this one right here because we're talking about a fellow American League Central team, the Chicago White Sox. And what have they not done this offseason? I am going to say this right now. They are the most improved team, maybe tied with the New York Yankees, because the Yankees only needed one more stone for their Infinity Gauntlet, and they got him. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But the White Sox, if I can just think off the top of my head, they've signed Edwin Encarnacion. They've signed Yasmani Grandal. They've signed Dallas Keuchel, Gio Gonzalez. They traded for Nomar Mazara. All they had to do was trade away one of their top prospects, Steele Walker, who I believe, and I think that the Rangers, they're actually going to get a pretty good player in him. The fact is, the White Sox have improved in every single aspect. They're going to be much more improved in 2020. I'm excited to see how that squad turns out because they re-signed Jose Abreu, who accepted a qualifying offer. Yohan Moncada is a switch-hitting monster over there at third base. They're going to have so many guys, including Lucas Giolito. They're going to get Michael Kopech back. They also have a couple first-rounders and top prospect in Luis Robert, and then I can't remember what his last name is, like Madrigal, or I'll put his name up right now. He's from Oregon State. He used to play with my buddy Caden Grenier, but in my opinion, the Chicago White Sox, the fact that they signed all of those guys, they're going to get the DH and Edwin Encarnacion. They got the pitchers. Gio Gonzalez is a very underrated signing in my opinion. He's going to be elite over there. And the White Sox, they might be a first place team in the Central. It could happen because the Twins, they haven't gotten that much better. I don't know if you guys know, but Adam Jones is no longer playing professional baseball in America, which is weird to me because he had a great season with our next team, the Arizona Diamondbacks. So you would think if they're losing Adam Jones, why would they be on this list as improved? And that's because they've signed Madison Bumgarner. We can all face the facts that Father Time is catching up to him. He is not the same pitcher that he was in the 2000 whatever World Series when back-to-back times he was absolutely elite. One of the greatest, if not the greatest postseason pitcher that has ever lived. I think the thing is the Diamondbacks, they'd rather go with the full hitting approach. So they also signed Cole Calhoun. He's not the best in terms of OPS, but he's going to hit 30 plus home runs. He's going to play some decent right field with an amazing arm. So I think Cole Calhoun, they did sign a relief pitcher in Junior Guerrera. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but Madison Bumgarner, Cole Calhoun, and another relief pitcher. That's really good, and in my opinion, they deserve to be on this list as the most improved. So if I had to give the White Sox a grade, probably an A+, and then the Diamondbacks a solid B, because I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but still, they're improved. The Cincinnati Reds, the two biggest signings that they have had so far are going to be Mike Moustakas. He is going to hurt the Brewers in a lot of ways. He played great defense over there. He could play third base and second base, and his bat was spectacular. I believe he was an all-star last year. I might be wrong on that, but the fact is the Reds, they already had a really deep lineup. I know Joey Votto, same thing with Madison Bumgarner. Father Time is catching up to him, but he still gets on base a lot. You have Aristides Aquino, you have Eugenio Suarez. I'm going to say his name right this time. They have a lot of dudes on that team that can rake, and when you put Mike Moustakas in there, and then another guy for the rotation, Wade Miley, he is going to eat innings just like he's done with the Red Sox, the Astros, all the other teams that he's been on, in the same rotation as Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer, Wade Miley, and Anthony Descalfani. When you have that five along with their lineup, the Reds might make some noise. I don't know about you guys, maybe you're not believers, but I am. The Phillies, and the biggest thing in my opinion was the fact that they fired Gabe Kapler, who was honestly he's not a great manager. That's just my opinion. His late game decisions, the 7th, 8th, 9th innings, JT Realmuto once shook his head like, what is this guy doing bringing in this relief pitcher in this moment? So JT was ready for a new manager, and Joe Girardi is the perfect fit. What does he do? He goes out and gets a veteran guy in Didi Gregorius, so I'm not sure what's going to happen to Gene Segura. Now, Cesar Hernandez did just sign with the Indians, so I'm not sure if Gene is going to move to second base. What's going to happen right there? But the biggest fish, in my opinion, was Zach Wheeler. His per nines are through the roof. So honestly, if we're talking about the unluckiest pitchers of 2019, Zach Wheeler, Noah Syndergaard, and Chris Sale are all on the top of that list because their per nines were excellent, but their ERAs, they were inflated due to unlucky home runs or base hits, anything like that. Just for me, I think that Aaron Nola is going to shed a little bit of wisdom on Zach Wheeler, maybe fine-tune that control and be able to give up those base hits less often. So the Phillies are going to get a B from me, and then the Reds probably a B+. Very few A's on this list, but coming up next, we're going to talk about, the Angels. I'm going to give you guys the grades for the Angels real quick because they're going to get an A for trying, but the fact that they didn't get the correct pieces, I'm going to bring it down to a B+. Anthony Rendon is going to rake. He is going to help Mike Trout become even better. Mike Trout is going to do the same thing in return. Rendon and Trout, they are going to feed off each other. Justin Upton, hopefully he can return to form. Pujols, he's still going to drive in 80 to 100 runs every single season, in my opinion, unless Father Time just hits him like that if he falls off a cliff like Tom Brady this year. But the fact is, Dylan Bundy, he's not going to win you 15 games. Julio Teheran is a nice pickup, but you kind of overpaid, and the fact is you lost out on Garrett Cole, Hyunjin Ryu, and Steven Strasburg, so I can't put you any higher than a B+. A for trying, but the fact is you spent a lot of money like you did back in the day on Josh Hamilton and Pujols without correcting the main issues at hand, which is pitching. You need pitching, otherwise Mike Trout will retire in the same category as Todd Helton and the other great players in Major League Baseball that never won a World Series. Mike Trout might be that guy. The New York Yankees are getting an A+ from me because they had an amazing 2019 full of injuries. Everyone wrote them off because Miguel Andujar was not going to play. No one believed in Giovanni Urshela. Also, we, as an Indians fan, I feel kind of bad because we had Gio Urshela and Cameron Maybin on our squads less than 3 years ago, and they broke out for the Yankees. So there's just something about playing in New York where you get the best of every single player. And then the one thing that they needed, and it was very evident playing the Astros, they needed one big dog, one big game pitcher, and they got him in Garrett Cole. In my opinion, the second best pitcher going into 2020, just behind Jacob deGrom. He's going to get another 300 strikeout campaign, put him right ahead of Luis Severino and James Paxton, and then Masahiro Tanaka is one of the best postseason pitchers ever. Wow, A+. you got to give it to them. The last 4 teams I want to talk about, we'll probably go over them real quick because I don't think that they are going to be playoff teams, but I am going to commend them for trying. The Blue Jays, they have signed Tanner Roark, Hyunjin Ryu, and then they also, who they signed, I think there's another guy that I'm missing, Travis Shaw. He was not great for the Brewers. We all know that. He was cut bait by his old team, but he was very solid with the Red Sox in 2017 and 2018. One of the most prolific power hitters at his position. He went to the Brewers. It wasn't the same, and I just don't know what he's going to do in Toronto. Maybe he's going to revitalize his career like Justin Smoke did, but Ryu, I don't know how that's going to turn out. Their left side of the infield is not that great, and Ryu, he's a ground ball pitcher. So let's see if Vlad Jr. and their shortstop can pick up the pace. Next up, we have the Padres. I am going to give them a B+, maybe an A- because they acquired Tommy Pham, who was better than Hunter Renfroe. They got Drew Pomeranz. They also traded for Trent Grisham, who has shown some promise, and then Zach Davies. He is the best example that I can give as a very average Major League Baseball starter. He's got about a 3.5 ERA over the course of his career. He goes from a mid-3 to a high-3 to a 4, all the way down to a low-3. So yeah, the Padres and the Blue Jays, in my opinion, very much improved, but I don't think they have scratched the surface just yet of what it's like to be a playoff contender, and that's just my opinion. And then the last 2 teams, they were bottom dwellers, and they've been bottom dwellers for quite some time, the Miami Marlins and the Detroit Tigers. Marlins fans, they finally have something to celebrate because in the last couple years, losing Fernandez in a tragedy, then you lost Yelich, then you lost Stanton, Ozuna. There's just so many guys. Real Muto, I forgot about him. So many guys have come and went as a Marlin, but luckily you've signed guys like Jesus Aguilar. Who knows what he's going to do. He was kind of a fluke in 2018, was not the best in 2019, but luckily you did get Jonathan Villar and a steal from the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles are going to get a solid F from me in the next video that you guys are going to see. They also signed Corey Dickerson and Francisco Cervelli, so they're going to get a B from me. At least they're trying. They signed some good guys. And then last but not least, the Tigers, they signed CJ Cron, Jonathan Scope, and then also Austin Romine. I don't think they're going to make any noise, but I give them props. I'm going to tip my cap because they are not tanking in the way that you would think, like the Miami Dolphins. Honestly, they're doing it the right way. They don't have the best roster, but their coach has fired them up. They're playing great football right now, so I don't mean to combine 2 sports, but that's the best example that I can give. They're not trying to tank. They're at least attempting to be a good baseball team. Not going to be great. That's just my opinion. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think is the most improved team going into 2020? And also, if I forgot any players, any teams, please let me know. 500 likes for part 2, the worst teams or the teams that got worse. There we go. See you guys.